Hello, welcome to Body Slamming with Daniel Vale, and this is your host, Daniel Vale. I really, after adding, or choosing to use Patreon for my, my discussion about the ratings war between Raw and Nitro, I really don't have an actual topic to talk about, so I'm just going to be honest. I think that I need to find something to talk about that is not a topic to talk about that is not something I've already done or have done 1,000 or done 5 or 6 different times. And I gotta tell you the truth, I'm not sure what to talk about outside of Raw and SmackDown Live, which I thought would have been better just to leave. I thought it would be better if I left the recap of Raw and SmackDown Live to people like Jim Ross or really, I gotta tell you the truth, I can't really think of anybody else. Oh yeah, I could also leave. I think I should leave that to Jim Ross, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Chris Jericho, or people that are not just fans firsthand, but have actually worked in the business. I can say what I think about it, but as far as knowing what you're talking about, that might be up to the people who have been in the business as performers themselves, in some capacity or another. So I won't talk about Raw or SmackDown Live, but what I will do is say, I won't talk about Raw or SmackDown Live, but what I will do is say what the current product, the way it looks so far, it looks like a step in the right direction. I'm not going to say the spoilers for next week's Raw, but what I will say is it's starting to look like, according to next week's episode, like it's going to be equal to SmackDown Live. So, for the rest of SmackDown Live's tenure on USA Network, we might see similar shows on the two shows. As a matter of fact, call me crazy, but it might be a good idea to restart this whole Raw Rebound and SmackDown Live Rebound thing in the original brand split. Now, it took at least a year and a half, if not 2 years, before they did this, but they finally did something that really was smart, and that was not only did they have a draft to both Raw and SmackDown Live, but just SmackDown at the time. It wasn't live until about 2 years ago. So, let me see if I remember this correctly. Oh yeah. Right after WrestleMania 20, Eric Bischoff said, because I think Chris Benoit and Triple H were talking about having a rematch, and I believe Shawn Michaels wanted another shot at the title because it was a triple threat match at the time at WrestleMania 20, and Eric Bischoff had said in that in the say when he came out to talk to Evolution and Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit, I remember it. He said that he was not that No, because he had an announcement, because Vince McMahon had an announcement to make about the future of Raw and SmackDown later on in the night, then there would be no heavyweight title match or any other title match for that matter, period, because of the announcement affecting every single title there was on Raw and SmackDown. And I'm sorry, I forgot why I was talking about this, but what I do remember is the week which led to, after he said that, in the middle of a women's match, which probably was lackluster because of how inexperienced the two women were. I remember, found out her last name was Gata, but the first name was Miss Jackie, who a few years later became known as Mrs. Charlie Haas. She and I believe it was Stacy Keibler, I believe, were going against each other. And let me backstep for a second. Let me correct what I said about being inexperienced. It's inexperience on Jackie Gata's part, and Stacy Keibler did not have a lot of experience in the ring herself. So it's more like inexperience in the ring. Because of that, there was a lot of the match was not very interesting. So Vince McMahon interrupted them, and it wasn't really a big deal because it wasn't an exciting match. And he had said then how they're going to have a draft and they're going to shake things up. That's the first time he said that. Because of needing new rivalries and new matches and stuff like that. Well, to get to my point, week after that, because SmackDown was still on Thursday nights at the time, the SmackDown that happened after the Raw draft aired their first Raw rebound, and then Raw aired their SmackDown rebound. So it really wouldn't make much sense since they're both on the same network to do this. But when SmackDown Live or just SmackDown goes to Fox Sports next fall, I believe it would be smart, because it's two different networks, to do a rebound. That's what they call it, Raw rebound and SmackDown rebound. And make it in a way, and do it just like they're doing now, make it in a way that would be equal, but not an exact copy of the show on Mondays. And I remember seeing the first episode of SmackDown, how most of the show was used as a continuation of what happened on Raw. And even though it's two different shows, two different brands, it wouldn't be a bad idea to cross-promote, because they already have dual-branded pay-per-views, so why not cross-promote the storylines between the two shows? I think that would be helpful, too. By the way, for people who might want to know about my Patreon show, well, I didn't start on Patreon yet, because I wasn't sure what to do, but I will record Raw vs. Nitro episodes and put it on Patreon. And for $5, I will do a bonus show where I talk about the paper where I talk about the pay-per-views that correspond with each other. The first pay-per-view, I think that was supposed to be a trying to think what you say here. Oh yeah. Whenever they've had the first episode of Monday Night Raw, I don't think Monday Nitro, excuse me. I don't think it was no, they didn't have an episode of Raw. So I think I might wait until talking about the night before, the Monday before in your house, where they had a tag team match for the titles, for the tag team, intercontinental, and heavyweight titles were all on the line. Now, those are going to be bonus episodes for people who become a patron for $5. Now, what y'all are thinking, isn't that kind of cheap? Well, I wanted it to be as cheap as I could so that I stood a chance of getting some patrons. And I figured if y'all like hearing Raw vs. Nitro, y'all might like hearing me talk about the pay-per-views that happened in between that happened the night before each, the night before just any Raw vs. Nitro episode happened. And I recently found out, being on Patreon for the last few months, that when I said the tier, y'all can't hear unless y'all pay $5, unless y'all take part in the tier. So that's kind of why I'm not sure what to do, but what I will do is this. I was at the gym, and what I like to do at the gym, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm glad I did this, is when I am either on the treadmill, which I started going on the elliptical, by the way, which it actually is easier on me to do the elliptical, but when I do the elliptical and then the bike, I listen to the podcast like 83 weeks. I didn't listen to the full episode, but I listened to about 20 or 30 minutes of it, and they were talking, Conrad Thompson and Eric Bischoff were talking about the year of 1998, and they were actually talking about the night that I think Mick Foley said that this was the night that 83 weeks ended, and they finally beat Raw in the ratings again. No, that Raw finally beat Nitro in the ratings again. I think he said that it was during the night that Finger Poke of Doomsday, that they call it Doomsday. Eric Bischoff and Connor Thompson just shortened it to Doom. When the week after Starrcade 98, Kevin Nash I don't know how many of you listeners watched WCW Monday Nitro at the time, but I remember that they actually did not change the nameplate, and it was still Goldberg. And Kevin Nash said, "Next week, I'm not asking, I'm demanding this. I want to have a rematch with Goldberg, and for the title, and if I win, my name will be on it. If not, it'll stay Goldberg's name." And so the next week, I always wondered why they called it. Well, I would read this once. I read this once because they said that Jeff Jarrett beat, quote, the Monster Abyss in NWA Cyber whatever, and Cyberspace or something, and he said, not he, a writer said how Jeff had beat Abyss by finger poke of Doomsday, and saying that finger poke of Doomsday, I read that came from Hogan poking Kevin Nash with his finger and then pinning him for the title. And what I want to say is how 1998 was actually a great year for WCW, more than 97. And 97, actually, I have to be honest, the fact that 97 was the year the NWO mocked Arn Anderson's retirement speech, that actually makes it a bad year, because even though it was a big thing to do, that was one of the lowest points in the history of wrestling. You had some retirement speeches, but I don't remember anybody mocking it and to that level. So to me, as a fan of wrestling, that was the lowest thing I've ever seen in my life. And there are a lot of, because wrestling is based off of good versus villains versus the good guys, to the point, and they do things sometimes that make you want to see bad guys get beaten, then you can, it's suffice to say that was lower than anything I've seen, and that was too much of a real thing to talk about. So that's why I can't believe 98 was better, because that was the year they created the Wolfpack, I believe, and that was the year Sting joined the Wolfpack, and Luger joined the Wolfpack, and Savage joined the Wolfpack. And the best part of it was that we got to see Sting talk again. So, yeah, because of that, I actually, like I said, I don't really know what to do outside of talking about about Monday Nitro. This is what I will do, because 83, they do this on Patreon for 83 weeks, and they do this what happened when Monday on 83 weeks also. So what I will do, because I love talking Nitro versus Raw, I will talk about 95 and 96 and 97. That will be my timeline. Those are the years I want to cover on here, and I'll cover 98, 99, and 2000, and talk about the rest of the ratings war on a Patreon. That's what I'll do. Alright, so now I got that out of the way. I'll say thank you to everybody, and just have a good day, and goodbye.